What's going on, Q Crew? It's your host, Suave Q, aka the Q Pill here, and I wanted to react to Lori Harvey breaking up with Michael B. Jordan because that's essentially what happened. Now, if you know anything about relationships, then you knew this shit was coming, and if you know a little bit more about relationships, you quite frankly, you probably didn't expect their relationship to last as long as it did. I know I didn't, so I'm in utter shock. Not that she broke up with him because she wanted to have fun, but because the relationship lasted almost 2 years. That's a complete shocker to me. But before I get into it, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, and let your friends get a dose of the Q Pill as well. Let's get into it. Now, as I said, this comes as no surprise. We know Lori Harvey, and we know Michael B. Jordan. And we know the type of guy that Michael B. Jordan is and the type of girl that Lori Harvey is. You just knew that this wasn't going to work if you weren't so caught up in the fact that, oh, they're an attractive couple like black women and other girls who were just in awe over the fact that a woman like Lori Harvey and a man like Michael B. Jordan are dating. It's the Disney fairy tale effect, the halo effect, essentially. And that's what people got so wrapped up in, the fact that they're simply an attractive couple. But there are 3 things to take away from this that were evident from the start. Number 1 is, as a man, you don't invest in a 304. You don't get emotionally attached to a 304, which is a hoe, which is a slut, a promiscuous woman. Those of you who are familiar with Lori Harvey know her history of dating. She went from being involved with Diddy's son to dating Diddy. She was also involved with Future, with Trey Songz, with some baseball player, I believe. Don't really know, didn't really follow them like that. I don't really follow Lori Harvey like that, but I have heard her name on the scene being involved with a lot of high status males. So that right there alone tells you that she loves to ride the cock carousel. As I called her in my video on Instagram, she's a cock carousel enthusiast. That's no surprise. So you don't invest in cock carousel enthusiasts. Why? Because their oxytocin receptors are so densified to the point where they don't get attached. And if you're looking to form a long-term relationship, the last type of woman that you want to form a long-term relationship to, that you want to be emotionally invested in, that you want to commit to, is a woman like Lori Harvey. So that is absolutely Michael B. Jordan's fault on the surface and as you dive deeper, because that brings me to my second point. A woman's past matters. A woman's past matters. They love to say that a woman's past doesn't matter, but a woman's past provides you with imperative and valuable insight to how she is, how she thinks, how she behaves, what her behavioral patterns are, what her behavioral tendencies are, what her mindset is, what her attitude is, what her belief system is. All things that you can utilize in order to better prepare yourself to deal with this chick long term. And as I said, if you look at Lori Harvey's dating history, then you would know that she's not the type of woman that you settle down with. And the third point is that we could take away from this is women don't know what the fuck they want. Women talk about wanting the perfect man. How much more perfect can a woman get than a guy like Michael B. Jordan, who's a multi-millionaire, who's right now at the peak of his career? He's well known, well respected, and he's established himself in the entertainment game as one of the premier actors currently on the scene. And on top of that, he's a guy who seems to be of class, integrity. He's low key. He stays out of trouble. You don't hear his name in the news. You don't hear his name coming up in situations that you would frown upon or would be embarrassed to be a fan of him by. What better man could a woman ask for than the type of man that Michael B. Jordan presents himself to be? With that being said, we all knew this was coming. As I said, we knew it was coming because Lori Harvey is not the type of girl that you invest in. But I'll tell you what happened. What happened is a guy like Michael B. Jordan was so overwhelmed by how attractive Lori Harvey is that he got caught up in his attraction to her because of her attractiveness. Most men will tell you, most men will agree, the consensus is Lori Harvey is a beautiful woman. I'd probably give her about an 8.5, maybe a 9, but to most men, Lori Harvey is exceptionally beautiful. She's a gorgeous woman. And typically what happens with men when we have a woman who is exceptionally beautiful, we become that much more enticed and allured by her beauty, because you're not used to having a woman that attractive. And if she's sexually experienced and she knows what she's doing, that exponentially increases the emotional investment that you're willing to put into this woman, which is understandable from Michael B. Jordan's perspective. It's understandable. Most of us have been there. We have a woman and we're like, damn, she bad as hell. And all you want is for her to be yours because you love the way she looks on your arm. You love the way other men look at her and say, damn, she bad as hell. I wish I had her. And you're the one who has her. You get so caught up in how attractive that she is that all logicality goes out the window. Your effective systems are overridden by the halo effect. You get caught up in how good you guys look together, and all you want to do is simply just love on this girl and just fuck her day in and day out and take pride in the fact that you're the only one doing it. That's fine and dandy when you're dealing with a woman who doesn't have the history and the mileage of Lori Harvey. And there was a guy who even commented on my picture on Instagram who said that she's for the intergalactic highway. And I immediately thought to myself, yeah, Lori Harvey, there's going to be light years on that pussy before it's all over with, to infinity and beyond. And the interesting thing about her breaking up with Michael B. Jordan is she still did it in spite of everything that he had did for her within the first year and a half of their relationship. My man's rented out an aquarium for her. He bought her the bags, the nicest bags, did the nicest gestures. He let her know that he was well invested in her for the long term. He showed her what he was capable of with his resources, what he could get done for her, what he was willing to do for her. And none of that ultimately mattered in the end, which is why I say women can be absolutely brutal and men have to vet effectively, because you have to pick which women you invest your time, effort, and your resources in. And Lori Harvey is not the type of woman that you do all of that for. One, because she can afford that stuff herself. You don't need to do it for her. That's the benefit of having a woman who makes her own money. Now, she can get that stuff herself. She can do that stuff herself. So those gestures were genuine gestures that he made because of how emotionally invested in her that he was. And she didn't give one fuck. In the end, it didn't matter at all. She still wanted to do her. That's a mistake that most of you guys make, getting involved and invested too quickly in a woman that you're attracted to. You have to stop doing that. You have to see what this woman first wants from herself. You need to understand if she wants marriage, if she wants a long-term relationship, if she wants to be committed long-term, if she's that emotionally invested in you. These are things that you need to vet and court women for, to understand about where their head is. Lori Harvey is not the traditional woman. She's not the traditional woman in terms of the way she thinks, her attitudes, her beliefs, her values. And what's going to happen is Lori Harvey is going to end up realizing that once she's finished being ran through, that Michael Jordan was the one that she missed, because of the type of guy that he is and the status and prestige and prominence that is associated with him. She's going to realize that when she's done having fun, that's the train that she missed. And a lot of guys can attest to that. They can deal with that if they were ones who women didn't want before they elevated themselves, and then you elevated yourself and she came back and wanted you. By the time she's finished being ran through and having fun, because she believes that her biological clock has the longevity that a man's has, to where she can just use up all her years having fun and then decide she wants a man of Michael B. Jordan status once she's hit the wall and no man no longer wants her. Now, don't get it wrong. If she's still attractive by the time she's 33, 34, and she keeps her body right, she'll absolutely still be able to find some high quality males that are willing to invest in her. She'll be able to find some older guys who don't mind some used pussy, some ran through pussy, and they'll wife her. So she has that going for herself. But I don't believe that she'll ever be able to find a man more put together and more established than Michael B. Jordan in terms of his personality, in terms of his feminine characteristics as a potential father and as a potential husband, and the masculinity that his appearance exudes. I don't believe she'll ever be able to find that, and that's what she's going to have a hard time dealing with when it comes to it, once she realizes that she's hit that wall. It's so unfortunate, and this is why I say you guys have to pay attention to the type of women that you deal with, and you have to vet effectively, because at the end of the day, You never want to invest in a 304. That is a lifestyle. That is not a phase. Being a hoe is a lifestyle. It's not a phase. And if you understand that she has a promiscuous past, that's a huge red flag not to proceed forward into the waters of long-term commitment. And Michael B. Jordan had to learn this the hard way. We seen him at the Golden State Warriors game, sitting courtside. He looked miserable. You could tell he was crying. His eyes was puffy. He wasn't in a good headspace. It wasn't a good look. But he has no one to blame but himself for becoming so caught up in a woman like that. And many of us can say, well, I don't blame him. Look at Lori Harvey. And that's what a lot of guys are saying. But those are simps saying it. And essentially, that's what he was throughout the stint of his short relationship with Lori Harvey. And it also highlights what has been confirmed empirically in studies, that whenever there's a woman who's more invested in a man, or for the first 2 years, the relationship will sustain 70% of the time. However, within the first 2 years of a romantic relationship, when the man is more invested in the woman, the relationship fails 60% of the time. And that's known as asymmetrical commitment, which is what we seen demonstrated here between Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey. Asymmetrical commitment. Him being more invested in her and her not being as invested in him, and the relationship ended, what do you know? Before the 2-year mark. So you guys have to be careful with how you date women so that you don't end up like Michael B. Jordan. And many of us have already experienced it. We've been through it. And that's the reality of dating. We have to be just as effective and selective in committing women for the long term as they are in vetting us for sexual satisfaction and engaging in us sexually, period. You guys have to understand that. It's unfortunate, but like I said, he's Michael B. Jordan. He'll be able to bounce back. He'll be able to find a woman who's willing to be committed to him. There are millions that wish they were. There are millions that wish they were in Lori Harvey's shoes. And Lori Harvey is just going to continue to reduce her sexual market value, having fun in her fun years, and then come back to realize that Michael B. Jordan was the one that she let get away. And she has no one to blame for that but herself. And also said that set the black community off was that if Michael B. Jordan wanted long-term commitment, he should have got a Latina woman, an Asian woman, or a white woman. They didn't like that too much, but that's the reality. Why? Because black women have the lowest marriage rates, the highest divorce rates, and the highest infidelity rates. And they seem to be the group of women who like having the most sexual fun without commitment, also considering the 75% single motherhood rate. So, as I said, Michael B. Jordan, he'll recover. He'll be okay in the long term. And he just has to take this L, not as a loss, but simply as a lesson. And you guys need to take it as a lesson and learn from his mistake as well. I'm Suave Q, aka the Q Pill. I appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys be safe, be blessed. I'm headed to Six Flags. Over and out.